So you agree with it in the sense that he was mocking this person's sexual orientation and appearance?
I agree with the assertion that YouTube's terms of service as written were violated on the basis that he was singling out an individual, and the characteristics that that individual was being targeted with or spoken about were sexual orientation in terms that the terms of service say is not allowed.
In today's video, David Pakman absolutely destroys Joe Rogan's in a debate about social media censorship. Joe tried pushing the idea that social media platforms are unfairly silencing conservative voices and that the left uses censorship as a political weapon. But David didn't hold back. He came armed with facts and showed that what's really being cracked down on isn't political speech, it's misinformation. Moderation isn't about shutting people up. It's about keeping these platforms usable for everyone. If you're tired of hearing the same old "they're silencing us" talking points, this debate is going to open your eyes. David didn't just push back, he exposed how the whole free speech narrative gets used to cover up spreading disinformation. Let's watch some clips from the debate and I'll share my own thoughts.
Is that different, in your opinion, than someone singling something out for what you believe is their mental incompetency?
Well, the mental incompetent. Do you mean that they're ignorant, or that they're mentally ill or cognitively limited?
Cognitively limited, mocking their ability to think, mocking their intelligence, mocking their decisions, mocking the way they talk, and then encouraging other people to do the same thing. And then that person gets harassed based on their intelligence, based on their performance on particular YouTube videos and conversations. And there's active harassers. There's people that do that. Is there a difference between, say, what Sam Seder does to Dave Rubin?
What does Sam do to Dave Rubin?
He has...
I don't know that I've seen that video.
Dozens of videos. Don't say that video. He has dozens of videos where he's just dunking on Dave Rubin.
So, I have some as well. I believe that they are substantive. That's my view, is that my videos about Dave Rubin are substantive. I don't really watch any left-wing stuff because I want to try to isolate myself enough to make sure that what I'm saying are my ideas
unique, yeah.
and that I'm not taking them. So Sam's a friend of mine.
Sounds like a comic.
And that's interesting. Yeah,
comics do that.
I don't know, but if there's some specific examples, we could comment about them. But I think that to your first question, there is a difference between going after someone for sexual orientation, than going after them for the fact that they say things that are wrong or don't know stuff, until you're making fun of someone who has an actual handicap of some kind of, cognitive limitation that would be a disability of some kind. Then you are mocking someone for a disability.
But the resulting effect of the harassment, see, this is what I was getting at before with Crowder. Like, what Crowder said was one thing, but one of the things that Carlos Mesa was discussing was what the people that had watched Crowder, what they were doing, how they were going after him. As if, see, that is a real discussion. Like, what happens when you say something about someone and then your fans agree and then they take action? Which
I didn't see that in the Steven Crowder decision that the reaction was part of YouTube's evaluation. Now, I may just have missed that, but I didn't see YouTube say that part of the calculation had to do with what other people were doing.
I don't think they did say that, and I don't think they would, but I think Carlos Mesa did say that. It was one of the things that he was talking about, this endless assault that he's experienced.
Well, he's right to call it deplorable. I think we would agree with that. I think your question is more about whether YouTube...
Who's responsible for it, right?
Who's responsible for it, yeah.
These anonymous people that can just lash out at someone and insult them out of nowhere.
Ultimately, they are responsible. Those people are responsible. Those people are responsible.
I agree.
As usual, Joe leaned into the free speech angle, trying to compare mocking someone's sexual orientation to making fun of someone's bad opinions or intelligence. But David kept it focused. He brought it back to what really matters, the rules set by the platforms. When Steven Crowder went after Carlos Maza, it wasn't just commentary, it was personal. David clearly drew the line. Targeting someone's identity, like their sexuality, is very different from debating their ideas. That's not just mean-spirited, it's against the policies of platforms like YouTube. Criticizing someone's views, fine. Using identity to incite a mob, that crosses the line into harassment.
However, so there's this term stochastic terrorism. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, I'm not.
Stochastic terrorism is the idea that if you have a big enough audience and you go and every day you're talking about someone should really do something about a particular politician. You're doing it every day. You're doing it every day. At a certain point, given a large enough audience and enough repetition of that, and the fact that there's like a distribution of people's emotional states, cognitive capacity, etc., it is statistically probable that someone from that audience is going to go and try to do something about whoever it is that you're targeting. That individual who has the show and is hammering on this person day after day after day, they're not going to be legally responsible for that person from their audience who went and did something. There's no way that you're going to hold them legally responsible under the current legal system that we have. But you could argue that it is irresponsible in some way not to understand that your consequences have actions. Of course, the person who goes and does the violent act is the primary person who is responsible.
Right, but as long as you're not calling out for that act, how do we make this distinction that someone is encouraging that act or someone is at least inspiring that act?
They're judgment calls. I mean, listen, I can go on my show and I can speak in vague terminology or specific terminology. You know, imagine that there's a local business that I don't like. I could go on my show and I could say, this business did this, and I need everybody in my audience to show up there and to make it impossible to get in and patronize that business. That's very clearly on one side of the gray area. I could instead say, you know, there's a business, and I could say the type of business, but I not name it. If it's a small enough town, people would know exactly what business I'm talking about. And I really don't like the way I was treated there. And if only there was some way that someone could do something about it, the effect could be the exact same one.
Right.
I don't know how you measure when it's on one side or the other.
It's like, right, you could somehow or another remove your you could somehow or another make it so that it's, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, you could remove your responsibility for the action in some sort of way.
Joe's perspective leaned toward libertarianism, questioning where we even draw the line. But David introduced a critical idea more people need to be aware of: stochastic terrorism. It's not just theory, it's a pattern. When someone with a big platform constantly targets a person using emotionally charged language, it's only a matter of time before someone in that audience takes it too far. David mentioned real examples like Dr. George Tiller or even the January 6th Capitol riot. These weren't caused by direct orders, but by repeated messaging. And David nailed why this matters. Legal responsibility may not apply, but moral responsibility, that's very real.
This just got interesting. I was trying to find a tweet from MAGA about him sending or asking people to flag Crowder's videos.
Did you get the one where he asked people to go assault people with milkshakes and humiliate them at every turn?
YouTube tweeted an hour ago, or 12:30, that to clarify, this is responding to Carlos Maza, to clarify, in order to restate monetization on his channel, he will need to remove the link to his t-shirts.
Oh, so it's the Figs t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's all he has to do?
He specifically asked about that, and then they responded, that's all he has to do.
Wow.
That's pretty easy.
That's pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, this shirt's stupid. But, you know, he's a comedian. I mean, that's what Crowder's doing. And in his doing the thing about Meza, he's mocking him for his appearance. But Carlos Meza has specifically encouraged people to throw milkshakes at people that disagree with him, and to harass them publicly and humiliate them.
So one thing doesn't justify the other.
No, it doesn't. But that is more egregious.
How far
asking people to assault people and asking people to physically humiliate people in person, in my opinion, is more egregious. I don't agree with mocking his physical appearance. Well, his physical appearance is, that's just what it is, you know. But the sexual orientation aspect of it is like, yeah, I get it. It's not nice.
How far do you
not
think
necessary.
this is just a comedian thing goes? Because I hear that a lot in just excusing things that are said.
Well, he's trying to do comedy, right? So he's trying to make fun.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. But comedy and making fun of someone are two different things. Like, I don't do comedy, but I will sometimes make fun of things people say.
Right, but he's doing it to be funny. He's making fun of things specifically to be funny. And sometimes, when you do that, you go too far. You cross lines.
I genuinely did not realize that Crowder does a comedy show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
His
his show is a comedy show.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of it is funny. He does some funny shit. He really does. Whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he's done some hilarious bits.
I'm reacting in real time because I had no idea.
He has this bit he does about this French socialist. He puts on a wig and pretends to be this different person. He's pretended to be a transgender person. He's done a bunch of these infiltration videos where he'll go into these ridiculous organizations and ask them questions. But it's very much a comedy show.
Dressing up like a trans person's funny?
It is if you're funny at it, if you're good. I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire, wasn't that funny? And that's what he was doing. He was dressing up as a woman.
He was dressing up as a woman.
Right.
He was dressing up as a woman. And that's a great movie. I agree with you there.
David made a really important point here. Calling out someone's ideas is totally fair, but going after their looks, sexual orientation, or gender identity isn't bold, it's just lazy. And when someone like Steven Crowder, who has a massive platform, does it, it's clear his audience will take that and run with it. Then Joe tries to brush it off like, oh, it's just comedy, but let's be real. That excuse doesn't really hold up. Sure, Crowder does sketches, but this isn't SNL. His show has a strong political agenda, and that gives his so-called jokes a different kind of weight. This whole exchange between David and Joe really highlighted how differently they see free speech. David values expression, but he also understands the importance of keeping it from becoming abuse. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more.